Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Reading the Red, this Friday morning. Not so sure about the weather. Looks like it might be a bright day, and then again, it might not. Friday, always a bit uncertain. Matthew chapter 18, verse 27. Jesus, having heard the plea of mercy from the slave, requests to give him time. The slave that has now humbled himself, the slave that has now, in effect, taken responsibility, is now in anticipation of what the king will say to him. And in verse 27, we read, "And the Lord of that slave felt compassion and released him and forgave him his debt," meaning forgave him everything that he owned in terms of the loan that was outstanding, or in that case, the things that he had done, as it were, by living off the fat of the land in regards to the king and his kingdom. So the king decides that he will release the slave from the debt, and he will forgive him, and he will show him mercy. And that reality of God's mercy in judgment can only come about once we've acknowledged the responsibility of the debt that we owe the king. And in this story, this man humbles himself, he falls to the ground, prostrate on the floor. He asks for time, and then it says, "I will repay you." But interesting enough, the king doesn't allow this slave to repay the debt that he owes. And remember, it was the need to repay the debt that motivated the king in the first place to even go to the servants of the land and ask back what is now due. And so yet the king is willing to forgive the debt owed, the loan that's been owed. He's willing to forgive, meaning he's allowing him the freedom to not owe it anymore. And that sense of genuinely letting go of the hostilities that we feel in our hearts towards people. It's not an easy thing to do, to completely release people from, as it were, what we feel is an outstanding debt. In this case, it genuinely was an outstanding debt. But so often, the debt that people owe us really is a debt like betrayal, or a lack of respect, or something that will kind of be an emotional consideration that now positions us in a relationship with someone in a different way to what we had it before they did to us what they have done. And that sense of releasing people for the things that they have done to us, the outstanding debt that they owe us in some way. This king is prepared to release this man from that debt. And I wonder, how easy do we find it? Do we do it? Or is the debt that we release from others a superficial debt, but really we're still carrying it in our hearts? I found in my lifetime that so often things that I thought I dealt with well actually still niggle away, gnaw away at my innermost being. And I realized that I've not dealt with it at all. Jesus once said to the disciples, "Unless you forgive your brother from the heart, you're not actually released and not releasing your brother." But this king is prepared to forgive this slave, this debt, by showing him mercy at the point of judgment. And it's an amazing thing that God would show mercy at judgment. Let's see what happens on Monday. Have a great weekend. Be blessed. Let's hope it's a sunny one.